How to Practice English Talking, Chapter 1. Start Speaking Without Fear. Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something very important. We will talk about how to practice English talking. Many people want to speak English well, but they feel nervous. They worry about making mistakes. They think their English is not good enough. Because of this fear, they do not practice speaking. But speaking is the most important part of learning to talk in English. The good news is that anyone can improve. You do not need perfect English to start. You only need the courage to speak. When I first started learning English, I was afraid to talk. I knew some words and a few simple sentences, but I did not feel confident. Every time I wanted to speak, I worried that people would laugh at me. Sometimes I stayed quiet even when I knew the answer. This made learning slower. One day, I realized something important. If I never spoke, I would never improve. So I decided to start talking, even if my English was not perfect. The first thing you should do is stop worrying about mistakes. Mistakes are a normal part of learning. Every person who speaks English today made mistakes when they were learning. Even children make mistakes when they learn their first language. Mistakes help us grow. They show us what we need to learn next. So when you make a mistake, do not feel embarrassed. Instead, think of it as a lesson. I remember speaking to a friend in English for the first time. I made many mistakes. Sometimes I used the wrong words. Sometimes my grammar was incorrect. But my friend understood me. She listened patiently and helped me. After that conversation, I felt happier. I realized that communication is more important than perfection. People usually care more about understanding you than about every small mistake. One of the best ways to practice English talking is to speak every day. You do not need a long conversation. Even 5 or 10 minutes can help. The important thing is consistency. Speaking a little every day is better than speaking for 2 hours once a month. Daily practice helps your brain become comfortable with English. You can start by talking to yourself. This may sound strange, but it is very useful. When you are alone, describe what you are doing. For example, you can say, "I am making breakfast." You can say, "Now, I am drinking tea." You can say, "Today, I will go to work." These simple sentences help you practice speaking without pressure. Nobody is judging you. You can speak freely and build confidence. I used to talk to myself while walking. I described the things around me. I talked about the weather, the people I saw, and my plans for the day. At first, it felt unusual, but after a few weeks, speaking English became easier. I no longer needed to translate every sentence in my head. Another good method is to read aloud. Choose a simple English book, article, or story. Read it slowly and clearly. Pay attention to how the words sound. Reading aloud helps improve pronunciation. It also helps your mouth become comfortable with English sounds. The more you read aloud, the more natural your speaking becomes. I remember reading short stories every evening. Some stories were easy, and some were difficult. Whenever I found a new word, I practiced saying it several times. Little by little, my pronunciation improved. Reading aloud gave me more confidence when talking to other people. Listening is also very important for speaking. Before you can speak naturally, you need to hear English often. Listen to podcasts, videos, interviews, or simple conversations. When you listen, pay attention to how people use words and expressions. Notice their pronunciation and rhythm. Then try to repeat what you hear. Sometimes I listened to short English videos and repeated every sentence. This is called shadowing. I tried to copy the speaker's voice, pronunciation, and speed. At first it was difficult, but with practice, it became easier. Shadowing helped me sound more natural when speaking English. You should also learn useful daily phrases. Instead of learning only single words, learn complete sentences. For example, learn phrases like, "How are you today?" "What do you think?" and "Can you help me?" These expressions are used in real conversations. The more phrases you know, the easier it becomes to talk. Another important thing is patience. Do not expect to become fluent in a few days. Learning to speak English takes time. Some days you will feel confident. Other days you may feel frustrated. This is normal. Keep practicing and trust the process. Every conversation teaches you something new. I learned this lesson during my own journey. There were days when I felt like I was not improving, but when I looked back, I saw that I could understand more and speak more than before. Progress often happens slowly. That is why it is important to keep going. Remember, the goal is not to speak perfect English. The goal is to communicate. Every time you speak, you become stronger. Every sentence you say is a step forward. So do not wait for the perfect moment. Start speaking today. Speak with confidence. Speak with courage. Most importantly, keep speaking. This is the first step to becoming a fluent English speaker. Chapter 2. Build confidence through daily conversations. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we will continue talking about how to practice English talking. In the first chapter, we learned that speaking without fear is very important. We learned that mistakes are normal and that speaking every day helps us improve. Now let's talk about another important step. We will learn how daily conversations can help you become a confident English speaker. Many English learners know a lot of vocabulary. They understand grammar rules. They can read books and watch videos. But when it is time to speak, they become nervous. Their minds suddenly go blank. They forget the words they know. This happens because speaking is a skill. Just like riding a bicycle or learning to swim, speaking improves through practice. Imagine a person who reads many books about swimming, but never enters the water. Will that person become a great swimmer? Probably not. The same is true for English speaking. You must actually speak if you want to become good at speaking. Knowledge is important, but practice is what creates confidence. One of the best ways to practice is through daily conversations. These conversations do not need to be long or complicated. Simple conversations can be very powerful. For example, you can talk about your day. You can talk about your hobbies. You can talk about your plans for tomorrow. Even a 5-minute conversation can help you improve. When I was learning English, I started with very simple conversations. I did not discuss difficult topics. I talked about everyday things. I talked about what I ate for breakfast. I talked about the weather. I talked about my favorite movies and books. These simple topics helped me become comfortable speaking English. At first, I often paused because I could not find the right word. Sometimes I spoke very slowly, but I continued. Every conversation taught me something new. Every conversation made me a little more confident. Over time, speaking became easier. If you have friends who speak English, try talking to them regularly. Tell them that you are learning English and want to practice. Most people are happy to help. You do not need perfect grammar. Just focus on expressing your ideas. The goal is communication, not perfection. If you do not have English-speaking friends, do not worry. There are many other options. You can join online language groups. You can find language exchange partners. You can participate in speaking clubs. Many learners around the world are looking for practice partners. They want to improve just like you. I once joined an online speaking group. People from different countries met every week. Everyone was learning English. Nobody expected perfect English. We simply talked and helped each other. At first, I was nervous, but after a few meetings, I started feeling comfortable. Those conversations improved my speaking skills greatly. Another useful method is role-playing. Role-playing means pretending you are in a real-life situation. For example, imagine you are ordering food at a restaurant. Practice saying, "I would like a sandwich, please." Imagine you are at an airport. Practice asking for directions. Imagine you are shopping. Practice asking about prices. Role-playing prepares you for real conversations. When the real situation happens, you already know what to say. This makes you feel more confident and relaxed. I practiced role-playing often. Sometimes I pretended to be a customer in a store. Other times, I pretended to be a traveler asking for help. These exercises seemed simple, but they helped me become more fluent in everyday situations. Another important habit is asking questions. Good conversations are not only about speaking, they are also about listening and asking questions. Questions help keep conversations going. For example, if someone says they like sports, you can ask, "What is your favorite sport?" If someone talks about a trip, you can ask, "Where did you go?" Learning a few simple question patterns can make conversations much easier. Questions show interest and encourage the other person to speak more. This reduces pressure on you and creates a natural conversation. Listening carefully is also a big part of conversation. Many learners focus only on what they will say next. But good communication requires listening. Pay attention to the other person's words. Try to understand their meaning. Good listening helps you respond naturally. I remember having conversations where I worried too much about my next sentence. Because of this, I sometimes missed important information. Later, I learned to relax and listen carefully. My conversations became much smoother. Another helpful tip is to use simple English. Many learners think they must use difficult vocabulary to sound intelligent. This is not true. Clear and simple English is often better. Native speakers use simple language every day. Focus on being understood rather than using complicated words. For example, instead of searching for a difficult word, use a simpler one you already know. Communication is what matters most. As your confidence grows, your vocabulary will naturally improve. You should also celebrate small successes. Maybe today you spoke English for 5 minutes. Maybe you had your first conversation with a stranger. Maybe you successfully explained an idea in English. These achievements matter. Every small success is a step toward fluency. I remember feeling proud after my first 10-minute conversation in English. It was not perfect, but it was progress. That small success motivated me to continue practicing. Little victories build confidence over time. Do not compare yourself to other learners. Some people learn faster. Others learn more slowly. Everyone has a different journey. Focus on your own improvement. Compare yourself only to the person you were yesterday. One day, you will look back and realize how much progress you have made. The words that once felt difficult will become natural. Conversations that once seemed scary will become enjoyable. This transformation happens through regular practice. Remember, confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes from speaking. The more conversations you have, the more comfortable you become. Every conversation is an opportunity to learn. Every conversation brings you closer to fluency. So start today. Find someone to talk to. Ask questions. Listen carefully. Use simple English. Practice regularly. Little by little, your confidence will grow, and English speaking will become a natural part of your life. Chapter 3. Improve your speaking through listening. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we will continue our journey of learning how to practice English talking. In the previous chapter, we discussed the importance of daily conversations. We learned that speaking regularly helps build confidence. Now, we will talk about another powerful tool for improving your speaking skills. That tool is listening. Many people think speaking and listening are different skills. While they are different, they are also connected. Good speakers are usually good listeners. Before you can speak naturally, you need to hear English regularly. Listening teaches you pronunciation, vocabulary, sentence patterns, and the natural rhythm of the language. Think about how children learn their first language. They spend many months listening before they start speaking. They hear words, phrases, and conversations every day. Slowly, they begin to understand. Then they start speaking. English learners can benefit from the same process. When I started learning English, I spent a lot of time listening. At first, I understood very little. The speakers seemed too fast. Some words sounded strange. Sometimes I felt frustrated because I could not understand entire sentences. But I continued listening every day. After a few weeks, something interesting happened. I started recognizing familiar words. Then I began understanding simple phrases. Over time, my comprehension improved. The more I listened, the easier English became. Listening helped prepare my brain for speaking. One of the easiest ways to practice listening is by listening to simple English stories. Stories are excellent because they are interesting and easy to follow. You can listen while relaxing, walking, or doing household tasks. Stories help you hear words in context, which makes them easier to remember. I remember listening to short stories designed for English learners. The stories were simple but enjoyable. I listened to the same story several times. Each time, I understood a little more. Repetition helped me learn new vocabulary and sentence structures naturally. Podcasts are another great resource. Today, there are many podcasts created specifically for English learners. Some are slow and easy to understand. Others focus on everyday conversations. Listening to podcasts regularly helps train your ears to understand spoken English. When I discovered English podcasts, I listened every morning. Sometimes I listened while eating breakfast. Other times, I listened while traveling. These daily listening habits improved my understanding and made me more comfortable with spoken English. Movies and television shows can also be very helpful. They expose you to real conversations and natural expressions. If a movie feels too difficult, start with subtitles. You can use English subtitles to connect spoken words with written words. I used to watch simple television shows with English subtitles. At first, I depended heavily on the subtitles. Gradually, I needed them less and less. Eventually, I could understand much of the dialogue without reading. This improved both my listening and speaking skills. Another effective technique is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a sentence and repeating it immediately. Try to copy the speaker's pronunciation, speed, and rhythm. This exercise helps you sound more natural when speaking English. When I first practiced shadowing, I chose short audio clips. I listened carefully and repeated each sentence. Sometimes I repeated the same sentence 10 times. Although it required patience, it helped improve my pronunciation significantly. Listening also teaches you common expressions that people use in real conversations. Textbooks often focus on grammar, but real conversations use many everyday phrases. By listening regularly, you learn these expressions naturally. For example, you may hear people say things like, "That sounds great," "I see what you mean," or "No problem." These expressions appear frequently in conversations. Learning them makes your speaking sound more natural and fluent. Another important benefit of listening is pronunciation improvement. Many English words are not pronounced exactly as they are written. Listening helps you hear the correct pronunciation. The more you listen, the easier it becomes to pronounce words correctly yourself. I remember learning several words that I had only seen in books. When I finally heard native speakers pronounce them, I realized I had been saying them incorrectly. Listening corrected many pronunciation mistakes without requiring complicated lessons. It is important to listen actively. Active listening means paying attention instead of simply hearing sounds. Focus on understanding the speaker's message. Notice how sentences are formed. Pay attention to pronunciation and intonation. Sometimes I listened to short recordings and wrote down new words. Then I practiced using those words in my own sentences. This simple exercise helped me remember vocabulary and use it in conversations. Do not worry if you do not understand everything. Many learners make the mistake of expecting complete understanding. Even advanced learners sometimes miss words. Focus on understanding the main idea. With time, your comprehension will improve. I learned this lesson through experience. At first, I stopped every recording whenever I heard an unfamiliar word. This made listening stressful. Later, I learned to continue listening and focus on the overall meaning. This approach made learning much more enjoyable. Consistency is very important. Listening for 10 minutes every day is often more effective than listening for 2 hours once a week. Daily exposure keeps English fresh in your mind. Small efforts repeated regularly produce big results. Try creating a listening routine. You can listen while exercising, commuting, cooking, or relaxing. Find a time that works for you. The goal is to make English a regular part of your daily life. Another useful habit is listening to different accents. English is spoken around the world. People from different countries and regions have different accents. Listening to various accents helps you understand English more easily in different situations. As your listening improves, your speaking will improve too. You will learn new vocabulary, better pronunciation, and more natural sentence patterns. You will feel more confident because you will know how English sounds in real conversations. Remember, listening is not separate from speaking. Listening supports speaking. Every minute you spend listening is an investment in your speaking ability. The more English you hear, the more natural English becomes. So make listening a daily habit. Listen to stories, podcasts, movies, and conversations. Practice shadowing. Learn useful expressions. Be patient with yourself and enjoy the process. Over time, you will notice a big improvement in your speaking skills. Chapter 4. Learn useful English phrases for daily speaking. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we will continue learning how to practice English talking. In the last chapter, we discussed the importance of listening. We learned that listening helps improve pronunciation, vocabulary, and confidence. Now, we will talk about something that can make speaking much easier. We will learn about useful English phrases for daily conversations. Many English learners spend a lot of time memorizing single words. Learning vocabulary is important, but knowing individual words is not enough. Real conversations are made up of phrases and expressions. When you learn useful phrases, you can speak more naturally and confidently. Think about how people speak in everyday life. They do not stop and build every sentence word by word. Instead, they use common phrases that they already know. This allows them to speak quickly and naturally. As an English learner, you can do the same. When I first started speaking English, I knew many words, but I struggled to make sentences quickly. I often paused because I was trying to create every sentence from the beginning. Then I started learning common phrases. This changed everything. Speaking became easier because I already had useful expressions ready to use. One important phrase is, "How are you?" This simple question is used every day. When someone asks you this question, you can answer in many ways. You can say, "I am fine." You can say, "I am doing well." You can also say, "I am great. Thank you." Learning these simple exchanges helps you participate in conversations more comfortably. Another useful phrase is, "Can you help me?" This phrase is valuable in many situations. You might need help finding a place, understanding information, or solving a problem. Knowing this phrase gives you confidence because you know how to ask for assistance. I remember traveling to a new city and needing directions. My English was not perfect, but I knew how to ask, "Can you help me?" The person understood me and gave me directions. That small conversation showed me that simple phrases can be very powerful. Another important expression is, "I don't understand." Many learners feel embarrassed when they do not understand something. But there is no reason to feel embarrassed. Everyone experiences confusion sometimes. Saying, "I don't understand," helps the other person explain more clearly. You can also learn phrases such as, "Could you repeat that, please?" and "Could you speak more slowly?" These expressions are extremely useful during conversations. They help you continue communicating, even when you miss something. When I was learning English, I used these phrases often. Native speakers were usually kind and happy to repeat themselves. Instead of pretending to understand, I learned to ask for clarification. This helped me learn much faster. Another group of useful phrases involves expressing opinions. For example, you can say, "I think so," "I don't think so," or "in my opinion." These phrases help you share your thoughts during discussions. Imagine someone asks whether you liked a movie. You can say, "In my opinion, it was very interesting." If you did not enjoy it, you can say, "I don't think it was very exciting." These simple expressions make conversations more engaging. It is also helpful to learn phrases for agreeing and disagreeing. For example, you can say, "I agree," "That's true," or "You're right." If you disagree politely, you can say, "I see your point, but I think differently." Learning these expressions helps you participate in conversations naturally. They also make discussions more enjoyable because you can share your ideas confidently. Another useful category includes phrases for everyday activities. For example, you can learn expressions like, "I'm getting ready," "I'm on my way," and "I'm looking forward to it." These phrases appear frequently in daily conversations. I started collecting useful phrases in a notebook. Every time I heard a phrase during a conversation, movie, or podcast, I wrote it down. Then I practiced using it in my own sentences. This habit expanded my speaking ability quickly. Greetings are another important area. Besides hello and good morning, you can learn phrases like "nice to meet you," "how have you been," and "it's good to see you." These expressions help create friendly conversations. When meeting new people, knowing several greeting phrases makes you feel more confident. It also helps you leave a positive impression. Another important skill is learning transition phrases. These phrases connect your ideas and make your speech smoother. Examples include, "first of all," for example, "on the other hand," and "finally." I noticed that fluent speakers often use transition phrases naturally. When I started using them, my conversations became clearer and easier to follow. They helped me organize my thoughts while speaking. One effective way to learn phrases is through repetition. Do not simply read a phrase once and forget it. Practice saying it aloud many times. Use it in different situations. The more often you use a phrase, the more naturally it will come to you. For example, if you learn the phrase, "What do you think?" use it several times during the week. Ask your friends about movies, food, books, or sports. Repeating the phrase helps make it part of your active vocabulary. Another helpful technique is creating imaginary conversations. Choose a few phrases and imagine a situation where you might use them. Practice both sides of the conversation. This exercise prepares you for real-life interactions. I often practiced imaginary conversations before important situations. If I expected to meet someone new, I practiced introductions. If I expected to travel, I practiced asking for directions. This preparation reduced my anxiety and improved my confidence. Remember, learning hundreds of individual words is useful, but learning common phrases can improve your speaking much faster. Phrases help you communicate naturally because they are already organized and ready to use. Try learning a few new phrases every week. Write them down. Say them aloud. Use them in conversations. Review them regularly. Little by little, your collection of useful expressions will grow. As your phrase collection grows, you will notice something exciting. Conversations will become easier. You will spend less time searching for words and more time expressing your ideas. Your confidence will increase, and speaking English will feel more natural. So focus on learning useful phrases. Practice them every day. Use them whenever you have the opportunity. These small expressions can make a big difference in your English speaking journey. Chapter 5. Improve your pronunciation and speak clearly. Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today, we will continue our discussion about how to practice English talking. In the previous chapter, we learned about useful English phrases and how they can help us speak more naturally. Now, we will talk about another important part of speaking English. We will talk about pronunciation. Many English learners worry about pronunciation. They want to sound perfect. They want to speak exactly like native speakers. But remember, the goal of communication is to be understood. You do not need a perfect accent. You only need clear pronunciation so people can understand your message. When I first started speaking English, I worried a lot about my pronunciation. Some words were difficult for me. Sometimes people asked me to repeat myself. At first, I felt embarrassed. But then I realized that pronunciation improves with practice, just like every other skill. The more I practiced, the clearer my speech became. One of the best ways to improve pronunciation is by listening carefully. Before you can say a word correctly, you need to hear it correctly. This is why listening is so important. When you listen to English speakers, pay attention to how they pronounce words. Notice the sounds, the stress, and the rhythm. I remember listening to short English conversations every day. Sometimes I listened to the same recording many times. Each time, I focused on how the speakers pronounced certain words. This helped me hear the differences between sounds that seemed similar at first. Another excellent technique is repeating after native speakers. This method is simple but very effective. Listen to a sentence and then repeat it. Try to copy the pronunciation, rhythm, and speed as closely as possible. Do not worry if you cannot do it perfectly at first. Improvement comes through repetition. When I practiced this technique, I often paused videos after each sentence. Then I repeated the sentence several times. Sometimes I sounded very different from the speaker. But over time, my pronunciation improved. My speech became smoother and more natural. Reading aloud is another powerful exercise. Choose a simple English text and read it out loud every day. Reading aloud helps train your mouth to produce English sounds. It also helps you become more comfortable speaking English for longer periods. I used to read short stories aloud every evening. At first, I read slowly because I was careful about pronunciation. As I became more confident, my reading became smoother. This daily habit improved both my pronunciation and my speaking confidence. Recording yourself can also be very helpful. Many learners feel surprised when they hear their own voice. But listening to recordings allows you to notice mistakes that you might not hear while speaking. I remember recording myself reading a short paragraph. When I listened to the recording, I noticed several pronunciation problems. Some words were unclear. Others sounded different from how native speakers pronounced them. This helped me identify areas that needed improvement. At first, hearing my own voice felt strange. However, I soon realized that recordings were one of my best learning tools. They allowed me to track my progress and celebrate improvements over time. Another important aspect of pronunciation is word stress. In English, some syllables are stressed more than others. Stressing the correct syllable helps listeners understand you more easily. For example, many English words have one strong syllable and one or more weaker syllables. Listening carefully to native speakers can help you learn where the stress belongs. Over time, correct stress becomes more natural. Sentence stress is also important. In English, speakers often emphasize important words while speaking more softly on less important words. This creates the natural rhythm of the language. When I first learned about sentence stress, I realized that English sounded like music. Some words were stronger and others were softer. Paying attention to this rhythm helped my speech sound more natural. Another useful habit is learning difficult sounds individually. Every language has sounds that may be challenging for learners. Instead of avoiding these sounds, practice them regularly. Focus on one sound at a time. For example, choose a sound that you find difficult. Listen to examples, repeat them, and practice words containing that sound. Small improvements add up over time. Do not try to fix everything at once. Many learners become frustrated because they want immediate results. Pronunciation develops gradually. Focus on steady progress rather than perfection. I learned this lesson through experience. At first, I wanted my pronunciation to improve quickly, but language learning does not work that way. Small daily improvements eventually created big changes. Another helpful technique is speaking slowly. Many learners try to speak too quickly. They think fast speech sounds more fluent. In reality, clear speech is more important than fast speech. When you speak slowly, you have more time to think about pronunciation. Your words become clearer, and listeners understand you more easily. As your confidence grows, your speed will naturally increase. Practice speaking clearly rather than speaking quickly. Clarity builds confidence. Confidence encourages more practice. More practice leads to improvement. You should also pay attention to connected speech. Native speakers often connect words together during conversation. This can make English difficult to understand at first. Listening regularly helps you recognize these patterns. The more you hear natural English, the more familiar these patterns become. Eventually, you will begin using them naturally in your own speech. Remember that everyone has an accent. Having an accent is completely normal. Your goal is not to erase your accent. Your goal is to communicate effectively. Clear pronunciation is far more important than sounding exactly like someone else. I know many people who speak English very well, while keeping their natural accents. They communicate clearly and confidently. Their accents are part of who they are, and that is perfectly fine. Most importantly, be patient with yourself. Pronunciation improvement takes time. Some sounds may be difficult at first. Some words may require extra practice. That is normal. Keep listening, repeating, reading aloud, and speaking regularly. Every day of practice brings improvement. Every conversation helps strengthen your skills. Every effort moves you closer to your goal. So continue practicing your pronunciation. Listen carefully. Repeat often. Read aloud. Record yourself. Focus on clear communication. Little by little, your speech will become clearer, more natural, and more confident. Chapter 6. Think in English and speak more naturally. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we will continue our journey of learning how to practice English talking. In the previous chapter, we discussed pronunciation and how speaking clearly helps others understand us. Now, we will talk about a powerful habit that can transform your English speaking skills. That habit is learning to think in English. Many English learners have the same problem. When they want to speak, they first think in their native language. Then, they translate their thoughts into English. This process takes time. It makes speaking slow and sometimes confusing. If you want to speak English more naturally, you need to start thinking in English. When I first learned English, I translated everything in my mind. If someone asked me a simple question, I first thought of the answer in my native language. Then I translated it into English. Sometimes I forgot words during the translation process. Other times, my sentences sounded unnatural. One day, I decided to try something different. I started thinking directly in English. At first, it was difficult. My vocabulary was limited. I could only think in simple sentences. But those simple sentences helped me practice every day. You can start with easy thoughts. For example, when you wake up in the morning, think, "Today is a beautiful day." When you are eating breakfast, think, "This food tastes good." When you are walking outside, think, "The weather is nice today." These simple thoughts may seem small, but they are powerful. Every time you think in English, you are training your brain to use the language naturally. Over time, English becomes easier and faster. I remember practicing this while doing everyday activities. When I cleaned my room, I described what I was doing. I thought, "I am making my bed." Now, I am cleaning the floor. I need to organize my books. These simple exercises helped me use English without needing a conversation partner. Another useful exercise is talking to yourself in English. This is one of the easiest ways to practice speaking. You do not need another person. You do not need special equipment. All you need is a few minutes each day. When I started talking to myself, I described my plans and activities. I talked about what I wanted to do that day. I talked about my goals and dreams. Sometimes I even imagined conversations with other people. At first, my sentences were short and simple. But as my confidence grew, my sentences became longer. I found myself using new vocabulary and expressions naturally. This daily practice helped me become more comfortable speaking English. Another great habit is narrating your daily life. Imagine that you are a reporter describing everything around you. Talk about what you see, hear, and feel. For example, if you are walking through a park, you can think or say, "There are many trees here. The children are playing. The birds are singing." This exercise helps build vocabulary and speaking confidence at the same time. I often practice this during my walks. Sometimes I described people, buildings, or events around me. This kept my mind active and allowed me to practice English throughout the day. Visualization can also help. Imagine yourself in different situations. Pretend you are ordering food at a restaurant. Imagine introducing yourself to a new friend. Practice asking and answering questions. I spent many hours imagining conversations before they happened in real life. When the real situation finally arrived, I felt prepared. I already knew many of the phrases I needed. Another useful technique is keeping a daily journal in English. Writing helps organize your thoughts. When you write regularly, it becomes easier to express ideas while speaking. Every evening, I wrote a few sentences about my day. I wrote about what happened, what I learned, and how I felt. This habit improved both my writing and speaking skills. The words I practiced in writing became easier to use in conversation. You can also challenge yourself by setting small thinking goals. For example, try thinking only in English for 5 minutes. Then increase it to 10 minutes. Later, try 15 or 20 minutes. When I first tried this exercise, 5 minutes felt difficult. My brain wanted to return to my native language. But with practice, it became easier. Eventually, thinking in English became a natural habit. Do not worry if you do not know every word. Many learners stop practicing because they cannot express complex ideas. Instead of giving up, use simpler words. Communication is more important than perfection. For example, if you do not know the word for something, describe it. If you forget a specific vocabulary word, explain the idea using words you already know. This skill is useful even for advanced speakers. I learned this lesson during conversations with native speakers. Sometimes I forgot a word, but instead of stopping, I explained the idea differently. Most people understood me without any problem. Reading and listening also support thinking in English. The more English you hear and read, the more language becomes available in your mind. New words and expressions gradually become part of your thinking process. I noticed that after reading English books regularly, I started thinking using phrases from those books. The language entered my mind naturally because I was exposed to it every day. Another important thing is patience. Thinking in English does not happen overnight. It develops slowly. At first, your thoughts may be very simple. Later, they become more detailed and complex. Do not compare your progress to someone else's. Everyone learns differently. Focus on your own improvement. Celebrate small victories. Every day you spend thinking in English is a step forward. I remember feeling excited the first time I realized I was thinking in English without trying. It happened naturally. I was planning my day, and suddenly I noticed that my thoughts were in English. That moment showed me how much progress I had made. Thinking in English helps reduce translation. It helps you respond more quickly during conversations. It makes speaking feel more natural and comfortable. Most importantly, it helps build confidence. So start today. Think in English while doing simple tasks. Talk to yourself. Narrate your daily activities. Imagine conversations. Keep a journal. Practice consistently, and be patient with yourself. Little by little, English will become a natural part of your thinking. And when that happens, speaking English will become much easier and more enjoyable. Chapter 7. Create a daily English speaking habit. Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today, we have reached the final chapter of our discussion about how to practice English talking. In the previous chapters, we learned about speaking without fear, having daily conversations, listening carefully, learning useful phrases, improving pronunciation, and thinking in English. Now, we will talk about the most important factor of all. We will talk about building a daily English speaking habit. Many people start learning English with excitement. They study for a few days or weeks. Then life becomes busy. They stop practicing. After some time, they forget what they learned. This happens because learning a language requires consistency. Small daily efforts are much more powerful than occasional large efforts. Think about exercise. If you exercise for 5 minutes every day, you will become healthier over time. But if you exercise for 5 hours once a month, you may not see much improvement. Language learning works the same way. Consistent practice creates lasting progress. When I was learning English, I did not always have a lot of free time. Some days I was busy with work or school. However, I made a promise to myself. I would practice English every day, even if it was only for a few minutes. Some days I practiced for 30 minutes. Other days, I practiced for only 10 minutes. But I never stopped completely. This daily habit helped me improve much faster than I expected. The first step in building a habit is creating a schedule. Choose a specific time each day for English practice. It could be in the morning, during lunch, or before bed. The exact time does not matter. What matters is consistency. I found that mornings worked best for me. I spent a few minutes listening to English and speaking aloud before starting my day. This simple routine became automatic after a few weeks. Another helpful strategy is connecting English practice to activities you already do. For example, if you drink coffee every morning, practice English while drinking coffee. If you take a walk every evening, think in English during your walk. This technique makes it easier to remember your practice sessions. Instead of creating a completely new routine, you add English to an existing habit. I often practiced English while doing household tasks. While washing dishes, I described what I was doing. While cleaning my room, I talked to myself in English. These small moments added up over time. Setting realistic goals is also important. Many learners set goals that are too difficult. They try to learn hundreds of words or speak for hours every day. When they cannot maintain these goals, they become discouraged. Start small instead. Promise yourself that you will practice for 10 minutes a day. Learn a few new phrases each week. Focus on steady progress rather than huge achievements. When I started, my goal was very simple. I wanted to speak English for 10 minutes every day. That goal felt manageable. Because it was realistic, I could achieve it consistently. Over time, my practice sessions naturally became longer. Tracking your progress can also be motivating. Keep a notebook or calendar. Mark each day that you practice English. Seeing your progress helps build momentum. I used a simple notebook to record my daily practice. Every day, I wrote what I studied and how long I practiced. Looking back at those pages reminded me of how far I had come. Another useful habit is reviewing what you learn. Many people learn new words and phrases, but forget them because they never review them. Regular review strengthens your memory. At the end of each week, spend some time reviewing vocabulary, phrases, and notes. Practice using old words in new sentences. This helps move information from short-term memory into long-term memory. I reviewed my notes every weekend. Sometimes I was surprised by how many words I had forgotten. Reviewing helped bring those words back into my active vocabulary. Motivation is another important part of building a habit. There will be days when you feel excited to learn. There will also be days when you feel tired or discouraged. This is normal. On difficult days, remember why you started learning English. Maybe you want better career opportunities. Maybe you want to travel. Maybe you want to communicate with people from different countries. Keep your reason in mind. Whenever I felt discouraged, I reminded myself of my goals. I imagined the future conversations I wanted to have. Thinking about those goals helped me continue. It is also important to make learning enjoyable. If you enjoy your practice, you are more likely to continue. Watch videos you like. Read topics that interest you. Listen to podcasts about your hobbies. I enjoyed watching English documentaries and reading interesting articles. Because I enjoyed the content, learning never felt like a burden. It became something I looked forward to every day. Another helpful tip is celebrating progress. Every achievement matters. Maybe you understood a conversation. Maybe you learned a new phrase. Maybe you spoke confidently for the first time. Celebrate these moments. They show that your hard work is paying off. Success creates motivation, and motivation encourages further practice. I remember celebrating small victories during my learning journey. Every milestone gave me confidence and encouraged me to keep going. You should also accept that progress is not always fast. Some weeks you may improve quickly. Other weeks may feel slower. This is a normal part of learning. Do not become discouraged during slow periods. Keep practicing. Even when progress feels invisible, your skills are growing beneath the surface. I experienced many periods where I felt stuck, but when I looked back after several months, I could clearly see my improvement. Consistent effort always produced results. Most importantly, never stop speaking. Speaking is the heart of language learning. The more you speak, the more comfortable you become. Every conversation teaches you something new. Remember everything we have discussed throughout these chapters. Speak without fear. Practice daily conversations. Listen regularly. Learn useful phrases. Improve your pronunciation. Think in English. Build strong habits. English fluency is not achieved in one day. It is built through small daily actions repeated over time. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, and every conversation you have brings you closer to your goal. Your journey may not always be easy, but it will be rewarding. Stay patient. Stay positive. Keep practicing every day. One day, you will realize that English conversations no longer feel difficult. You will speak naturally and confidently. That day will come because of the effort you put in today. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Keep learning, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.